Merry Christmas, Reject Nation! We bring you the review of the movie that everyone's seeing. Everyone has tuned in for the $10 million opening of The Greatest Showman on Earth. Yeah, we're putting up our review today. You gotta keep something in mind with us, okay? We saw this a couple weeks ago, and then the embargo wasn't gonna lift for a couple weeks, so we're like, we'll just shoot it a little bit later. So we might have forgotten some stuff, but I remember my overall opinion and feelings when this movie ended.
Yeah, I remember pretty much how I felt coming out.
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna share with you guys today. So The Greatest Showman on Earth.
Just The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman on Earth.
No, The Greatest Show on Earth. The Greatest Showman.
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
On Earth.
No. One job to do.
This is a story of P.T. Barnum, who created the entertainment industry.
That's right.
He created the circus with the freak shows and everything. We really want to do a segment called Trailers Revisited, because we were looking at the trailer again to refresh our mind. And the trailer might give you the impression that it's a story about a guy down on his luck who decides to come up with this circus show. And it's about the freaks and the relationship that it has with the world and how it revolutionized things. When that's not really what the movie's about. Yeah, but the first half makes you think it is.
But without with the focus distributed in places that are mostly Hugh Jackman.
The focus is mainly P.T. Barnum and his story of success and the lessons he's learned along the way of greed and power. All those fun cliches. This film is
all the things that people give into and struggle with when they're starting a big old business.
This film is filled with ridiculous amounts of cliches. However, I gotta tell you guys, as a family film, I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I did. I teared up a couple times. I'm a sucker for stories about dads, husbands, life learning lessons and success. Man. Yeah, I'm a sucker for stories like that. Gotta keep that in mind as I'm talking about this film, because while it's cheesy, while it's corny, and while it's cliched, I feel like the messages are still good. They're still relevant. And there's a few dance numbers and musical numbers in here that I really quite enjoyed. Hugh Jackman's performance is really solid. He carries this film.
Yeah, when it comes to this movie, for me, I'm kind of in a similar boat as you. Last I checked, this had like a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is one of those movies that I think kind of epitomizes the 50% range. Because as a film, there are lots of things you can complain about. I mean, they don't make very much use of P.T. Barnum's actual life.
No.
And so you get kind of a pretty familiar story of success with some circus trappings, but what really makes this movie unique to me is the feeling that it gave
me
and the themes.
It's a lot of heart this movie has.
It's not overly complex or challenging, but it did make me feel joyous. It did wrap me up in the production value of everything, and everything is good-natured enough and the performances are all good enough that I did really enjoy my time, even though as a film there are a lot of things that could be much better.
It's a little bit clustered. There's a lot of story in this one movie, because you got Hugh Jackman's relationship with his wife, Michelle Williams, his kids, the story of the circus, the story of the freaks, the story of Zac Efron and his relationship with one of the freaks, and then Zac Efron's relationship with his parents. A whole bunch of story in this one movie, so it's a little over convoluted. At the same time, though, I think the film strikes a delightful tone. It's a delightful movie.
And a subplot where Barnum goes off and has a side quest with an opera singer.
Yeah. There is a certain type of awe behind it. First off,
it's nice to see a musical that's not shot by Rob Marshall. For once, because I did think that the way they shot this was punchier.
There were some cool shots in this movie. There's some really cool shots.
Yeah, where they really capitalize on the dancing and the choreography, but also they bother to, compose the shots. And there are some numbers that really sing as parts of a movie.
Yeah, there are some songs in here that are really damn good. The highlight to me is the first song with Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, in the bar.
Yeah, they're drinking in a bar, they're taking shots, they're conducting business, but it's all in a musical number. And that to me is my favorite kind of musical number, where it's progressing a plot, it's a character scene, but it's also a really damn good song and some good choreography at the same time. The same cannot be said for all of the musical numbers. There are some musical numbers in here that I felt were a little unnecessary. There are some musical numbers in here where I'm like, this sounds a lot like the other songs we've already heard. It has this how'd you put it? It has this kind of like pop vibe to it. it.
Part of my trouble with this as a musical is that most of the music and the dance choreography are very modern, very poppy, very produced that way, very melodically pop-oriented.
And like it's really well choreographed, but it also doesn't always complement the story. It doesn't always complement the world and the time we're in. Sometimes mixing in modern day musical numbers like a Moulin Rouge or even some music of something like A Knight's Tale does work when you implement that modern effect. Here, there are times where it's just kind of distracting.
Well, because it's only the style. It's not like we're making a point of being anachronistic. It's like this is the only element that's very modern. You know? And so that makes it, at least for me, that sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I don't think all of the songs are great in this. There's a lot of stuff I don't remember at all. But there are some good musical moments. I'm not going to say that this is devoid of good songs.
And sometimes musicals have this effect on me that can kind of... Whatever. It's Christmas. Let the dog bark.
Christmas.
Musicals can kind of have this effect on me occasionally where I'll listen to a song in a musical and I don't feel like it's necessary and it just kind of feels like super expositional. A lot of the time when I was really pulled into the movie, it's when they're not actually singing and dancing. A lot of time when I'm pulled in, it's just the scenes. Found a lot of that to be very effective, more so than the music. Sometimes when they break away to musical numbers to get a lot of exposition or to cover a lot of time to make a montage out of it, there's enough in there to make it be a musical, but there's also times where I was like, I don't really need this musical number right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I do think there are a few too many songs, and there are times where you're like, oh, we're gonna stop again.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I definitely feel you there, although I don't think that it's weird as a musical and would have been better without it or anything like that. Like, I like that it's a good subject for a musical, which, again, tears me into that 50% range where I'm like, man, I wish this was a better musical, but at the same time, I really enjoyed this musical.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm gonna come down there a lot. But Hugh Jackman's great in this, as always.
The Freaks have a really good musical number in here, too. That was one of the musical numbers that really I felt the emotion there.
Yeah, it's rousing, and you really feel for them.
Yeah,
you know? And that's one of the few musical numbers, that pulls you into not only the glitz of it all, but the feeling.
If there's one thing I just really wanted a little more from this film, was to spend more time with the Freaks, to spend more time with the circus performers, because this movie kind of forgets about it halfway through, and then it intermittently cuts back. I mean, it's part of Hugh Jackman's character to be caught up in his own success, but then at the same time, it starts missing out on that element that probably pulled in people to wanting to see this movie, was the element of the freak shows.
Yeah, and the celebration of, strangeness and diversity.
Yeah. No, this film is not the greatest thing in the world. It's definitely flawed. If you just want to go in like, I want to watch a delightful movie that has a good heart, that's all this film really sets out to do, and I think it really succeeds in that territory. It's not a powerful film, but it's moving in the right places.
Yeah, it's not a great film, but it's a really enjoyable film, I thought.
Yeah.
I was never annoyed. I was never
Right? I thought it would be annoying, especially after the first number.
Yeah.
The opening number, I was like, I don't know about this movie, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, once the movie does some other things and kind of jumps you in, because I was initially taken aback by, this is not the kind of musical I was expecting this to be. The more I think about it, the more I just feel good inside.
Yeah.
I really had a good time. I felt good during and after. And so, yeah, if you're going to the movies for Christmas or during just any part of this holiday season here, I think you'll have a great time and everyone can enjoy it. There's good messages, good performances all around.
And I think for a Christmas time, too, it's a good movie. It's probably the closest Christmas movie we have out in the theaters right now.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like I can't argue with any of the complaints, really. I just
they're all there.
Really enjoyed it. Go figure.
Yeah, so I'd give it like a 3 out of 5 stars.
I'll bump it to 3 just because the feeling is enough that I'm like, yeah, I don't think you're bad. I just think you could be better.
All right, guys. Well, did you see The Greatest Showman on Earth? Are you excited that Hugh Jackman is not playing Logan anymore, but is instead doing movies like this, produced by James Mangold? Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. You could check us out on Patreon. It's like a second YouTube channel over there. Uploading a lot right now, including some music video reactions. Speaking of musicals. Download and follow us on the Stardust app. Posting regularly over there as well.